Welcome back, everybody, to Around the Arena, your finals podcast covering everything happening inside and outside the virtual arena here on the Finals Central. I'm Sam, that's Cody, and we're joined by a very special guest here today that you all probably all know and love. He just rated us out right before the podcast, and if you're listening on YouTube and Spotify, the Handsome Devil is here. We'll get Cody and intro him in just a second, but before we get into that, just two things I got to give a quick announcement for. As a reminder, TFC Pug Nights are happening on Tuesdays in our Discord. Free to join. If you're in for casting or observing and you're brand new to the scene and want a place to practice, this is your shot. Join our Discord, submit us a ticket if you're interested in casting or observing, and we'll try to get you on the schedule so that you can get those reps in. In addition to that, this weekend on Saturday is PHL Closed Quals kickoff. We just watched Open Quals last night on my Twitch, and it was an awesome time. And now we have 16 teams that we got to cut down to 6 for the PHL season to start up the following week. So EU is going to kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and NA is kicking off at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, that's all the announcements I got. Cody, take it away, man.
There's only one announcement that I can think of, and there's just this guy. He has 3.4K followers on Twitch, 9.7K subs on YouTube. You had that miswritten, Sam.
That's my bad. I see that right now. Yeah.
Firing Squad. Anyways, he's 7 foot, beautiful, a TGM coach. He's a host, a caster, gifted with long, luscious locks. He single-handedly is in charge of the Hawaiian shirt economy. I don't know where we're getting all this information. John Final himself, ArdyIRL.
Woo! Hello. Welcome on, Ardy. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this episode with us. I know it's been one that we've been trying to get going, and you're obviously really busy. And we're excited to talk about all the great things happening in the Ardyverse here in 2026. And also let the crowd kind of get to know you a little more. You know, you've been on the scene for a while. Like Cody said, you are John Final himself. At least that's what we're calling you. And so this is awesome. This is one that we've wanted pretty much since we started the pod. So welcome aboard. How are you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing amazing. Thank you guys so much. I mean, for the premium gas as well. I honestly don't deserve it because I watch everything that you guys post, and so for me, I'm kind of fangirling as well because I'm like, I love hanging out with you guys. We have all of our silly little group chats where we send absolutely obscene TikToks to each other, but now is the time where we can properly communicate in I think the most natural form of conversation, which is a live streamed podcast. This is the most normal type of conversation that 3 white dudes can have in the year of our Lord Todd Howard 2026.
Look, I came out the womb and I was like, maybe I should start a podcast.
I mean, I think the podcast equipment should be illegal for most people, but I'm happy you guys stumbled into some. You guys have done such a great job keeping this scene accessible to people. I mean, since the beginning that you guys were doing your own coverage of PHL, I've loved what you guys have been doing, and so I hope that you don't idolize me as much as that intro sounds like, because you guys are just as much pillars of this community as much as I am. So I'm just happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're happy to have you here. I mean, it takes a village. That's something I feel like I always say, especially with the finals community. And it's amazing that so many people have done their part already and are continuing to just enter the scene. I mean, we had an interview pretty much right when we came back from the major and kind of getting back up here with Around the Arena live. We had it with the breakout guys for about 10 minutes, and just hearing them like coming back into the scene, it's just awesome. Like finals esports is really ramping up, and I'm excited to talk about PHL here in just a little bit. But Ardy, you have been a guy that's been in the scene, not just the finals, but I'd say esports as a whole and internet gaming. Can you give us like a rundown sort of on your background? Because I know it's a long one, and I want to hear about all of it.
Oh yeah, it's kind of funny because like it is such a long history that it's honestly hard for me to keep track. Every time I tell it, I typically end up telling a different variation just because I mean, esports moves so fast, and I've been in esports now for a decade exactly. And it's crazy to think that I have had that much time in here because it doesn't feel like it has been that much time. But it is all very fresh in my head because just yesterday I was giving a talk to a local middle school actually about the same thing, about like my background and sort of how I brought esports to the island. And so I guess like the quick rundown. Do you guys want the 1 minute do you guys want the 10-minute or do you guys want the 1 hour?
We
How long do you want this background?
We typically book this thing for an hour, and we're happy to go longer. I mean, you're a busy guy, and we're here for you. I want to hear the whole story, obviously, because you and I reconnected.
Do we get like
Apparently,
the middle
we were connected
ground,
before
like 25 minutes?
Yeah, give us like
Okay.
28 minutes sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Alrighty. So it was the 1780s in North Scotland, and my ancestor decided to borrow some money and then decided to not pay that back. Long story short, he ended up on a boat against his will, and my then more recent ancestors were born in Hawaii. And so my parents ended up making me leave Hawaii as a kid. I grew up in California. And then in 2015, when I was addicted to Counter-Strike, I loved watching Counter-Strike tournaments. I loved watching as much like Counter-Strike esports as I could. And so I was just addicted to listening to the casters. And when I was playing ranked CS:GO, I would throw to my teammates, which I was like, maybe I peaked SMFC, and then they did the rank reset like 2014, and then I never got past double AK, and so I was just throwing my own games by casting while I was playing. It just so happened that in that game, one of the games I was casting, one of the guys that didn't turn off voice chat or mute me immediately, he ended up saying, "Hey, have you ever casted a tournament before?" And I said, "No, I just kind of do this for fun to troll." And he was like, "Well, you're pretty decently good at it. I'm actually the talent director at the Esports Arena Santa Ana.
Oh,
Are
wow.
you local to Southern California by chance?" And by chance, I happen to be. And he said, "Send me a reel of you casting." I didn't know what a reel was. I had to look it up mid-conversation. And we'll see if we can get you to cast. We have a $10,000 tournament coming up. We don't have any casters. We can give you a t-shirt.
Sick.
So that's how I ended up casting my very first game when I was a senior in high school in 2016.
Nice.
That was an experience I never thought I would get. My dad had to drive me to Santa Ana. He dropped me off. He hung out. The esports arena was right across from the Scientology church, which was a wild thing. But
Yeah.
anyway, I went from casting that to when I graduated, I went to community college for a little bit, and I was just casting Overwatch games for the community college's esports club,
Cool.
and they would host Overwatch tournaments at the Microsoft store that was local, and so that was my first time casting anything other than Counter Strike, and I really loved it. But eventually, I was still kind of working on my other stuff, like with school, and my dream was to go to school in Japan, and so I went to university in Japan. I went to school in Japan, and after I left that, I thought I was leaving esports behind. In 2018, while I was in Japan, I got a message from one of my friends from that same community college's esports thing, and he said, "Hey, I have a friend that's in Tokyo. They're casting Rainbow Six Siege. They need an English caster. Are you available? Can you go to Tokyo this weekend?" I couldn't go to Tokyo that weekend, but I dropped everything to make sure that I could go, and I said, "Yeah, I'll be." I was actually already planning on being there, so like, yeah, it's no sweat. I could be there.
Nice.
And I casted the first ever paid Rainbow Six Siege tournament in Japan, in English at Tokaigi 2019, Tokyo Game Party.
Oh, cool.
Um, from there, the guy that I was casting with, he ended up also being one of the people that was hosting a panel at Evo in 2019 in Fukuoka. And he was like, "Hey, this was great. You wanna cast Evo?" He was like, "I'll pay for your like we'll pay for your train tickets down there, but we can't pay you anything." I was like, "Hey, casting Evo? Let's go." I learned Skullgirls. I learned how to cast that, and
Nice.
that was when it was like, okay, hey, esports is still kind of happening, but it's not my job, right? I'm still studying linguistics. I'm studying Japanese. I am not, this isn't a career, right? It's not real. Flash forward then a year to COVID. When COVID hit, Japan kicked all the foreigners out, and I had to go back home. I ended up transferring to the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and here I was like, hey, you know what? They have an esports program. I'm gonna DM the guy on Discord and see what their program has. That ended up leading to me being able to tell them, hey, this pretty cool game is coming out called Valorant. Nobody knows about it, but we could probably host a tournament or like host some tryouts, make a team. And that ended up being way bigger than anybody thought.
Mhm.
And all the Valorant casting and coaching that I did there led to me getting a spot doing casting for Red Bull, casting for some official Valorant stuff back in 2021. Then our esports program, having new social media stuff and via all the stuff that I was doing, got noticed by Blizzard for Overwatch League, and they reached out to our university's esports program in late 2020. Said, "Hey, we're planning on doing Overwatch League at like we're planning on doing something in person. We would love to do it in Hawaii. Can we use the university's esports stuff?" And that led to Overwatch League coming to University of Hawaii in 2021, which was my first exposure to a lot of like the really big league esports stuff. It was there that I had my first production internship, and I even got to work on Call of Duty League as well. They flew me out to Texas for
Oh
that.
wow, no
I got
way.
to operate a camera for Major 3 for during the Cold War days. And I just got to meet a whole bunch of really cool people, get a whole bunch of really good experience, and I realized, wow, it is going to be impossible to actually work in this industry outside of internships and college stuff. So I'm gonna leave. And I was there that I started doing social media. I made videos for my university's program, which I was able to put into a portfolio, and I put that into like a reel. Got noticed by Opera. Opera hired me to be social media manager for Opera GX.
Oh,
I took their Twitter from having like no followers to having a pretty decent following, and their TikTok from I opened their TikTok account, and by the time I left, they ended up with like 1 million, I think. So I was just doing social media, but I missed esports, right?
right.
It was cool to like sit down and play Minecraft every week and get paid like a living wage, but I missed esports.
Yeah.
And all my friends that I'd made in the industry, I was so jealous watching them go to tournaments and cast stuff that I wasn't casting anymore. And I was still casting Valorant stuff in 2022, but not to the same level. And so I quit at the end of 2022, and I told the director of the esports program, "Hey, I want to get back into esports. Do you have any leads?" Oh, I know that he's like super well connected, and he was like, "Yeah, actually, I do." We were working with Gen G at the time to put together an internship program at University of Hawaii with Gen G, and so he knew a lot of the people up there, put me in touch, and turns out they needed a Valorant coach for their Gen G Academy stuff. So they signed me as their first ever international coach for Gen G Academy, and they flew me around the world to coach different projects that they had going on. So I went to Korea, I went to Saudi Arabia, I went to Japan, I went to a bunch of different places I went to Dubai, just on behalf of Gen G. Eventually getting promoted to head coach of Gen G Academy, where I had way too many responsibilities, but I was still making some good money.
Yeah.
Still casting Valorant, still coaching Valorant. Um, did that for 2 years into 2024, and the finals had come out in 2023, of course, in December. I loved that game to death in
Yeah.
December, the moment that it dropped. And I played in the closed beta, I played in the open beta, but when it dropped, it was the only thing I played. All of season one, I was addicted. And I just realized, hey, I want to do casting just like I do for Valorant, but there's no tournaments. There's
Right.
no custom games. How do we do this? Some dude hit me up and said, "Hey, we're gonna be organizing like pro scrims." It was Q sniping back then,
Right. Yeah.
where everybody would try to Q snipe, and so I would have on my monitor, I'd have 32 streams at the same time of the finals,
Jeez.
and I would be in a voice chat with like 30 people and say, "3, 2, 1, Q," and then watching these streams, watching as everything turned in. Okay, these 7 people got Monaco, so like like these couple teams got Monaco. Okay, these guys got Seoul. So like maybe these guys are in the same Seoul lobby. Oh, everybody's in the same Vegas lobby right now. So it's like we would like try to do that for like Q sniping and scrims, and
Wow.
that was where I was casting the finals. It was the very first time that anyone was casting something other than a kill race, and
Yeah.
I man, I was addicted. And luckily through that, Gigs was a huge streamer. Came from Destiny 2. It was insane at the finals. Literally the best finals player during season one. Him, um, Lycommit, and a few other people. They were all very active, and they all somehow, for some reason, they loved my casting. And when season 3 rolled around, when it came time to plan Twitch Rivals, Gigs vouched for me and told Oscar, he was like, "There's only one person that like he thinks should cast it, and it's me." And he told Oscar, like, "You need to have already cast this." And it's honestly, without Gigs, without that experience, I would not have been introduced to Oscar the way that I was, and
Yeah.
would not have the position casting for Twitch Rivals. Um, In 2024, though, unfortunately, there still wasn't enough gusto in the finals to be able
Yeah.
to continue with it full time. So I was still committed to Valorant. I was still committed to working with Gen G Academy, but I also wanted to do more on my own. So outside of Gen G Academy, I actually got picked up by the Mongols, and I was head coach of their Valorant team, putting together strats, getting them to actually qualify into Valorant Challengers League, where they were fighting, hopefully, for the chance to get to Ascension. That never happened, unfortunately, and the team disbanded shortly after. But it was cool to be able to coach a team that was kind of my own. It wasn't just a team I was put in charge of because of Gen G Academy.
Right.
And that was where I started really realizing I loved coaching. So end of 2024, I was sick of Valorant. I hated it. I hated the community. I was in one of the worst places in my life at that time because of just the people that would try to target me and harass me on Valorant. I stopped streaming for a while because of just some bad actors in the Valorant space.
Yeah.
But the finals brought me back. 2025, the very beginning, I was like, hey, I'm gonna focus on games I love. Started playing Fragpunk, started playing Marvel Rivals, and just the finals. And of course, then we're into 2025 last year, where I was head coach of a Marvel Rivals team. I was, for some reason, Twitch Rivals loved me. They kept me back on. I was chosen by the devs of Fragpunk to be the caster for Twitch Rivals for Fragpunk. And then Twitch Rivals brought me on to cast Marvel Rivals. And they brought me on, I think, 3 times total for that, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But then while I was commentating, I wanted to do more commentating for Marvel Rivals, but because I was coaching a team, they didn't want me on Ignite because they saw that as a conflict of interest. And
Sure.
so after that, I kind of realized, hey, coaching Marvel Rivals is not giving me the same level of satisfaction as like casting was. And so I was at a crossroads where the finals was finally picking up. PHL, of course, had started in 2025, and we had a lot more stuff going on. And I realized that this is my time to dedicate everything that I could. I had enough in savings where I was like, I can go broke and make zero money for a certain amount of time here, and I can just make content about the finals. I can put my heart into the finals, and I can jump ship and be safe on this game. And I did. And so after the first half of the Marvel Rival series in 2025, I jumped full time to the finals, and I have not looked back. And the major was a complete surprise that they even brought us on. We were really
Yeah.
scared for a moment that, I think Rio talked about it last time when you guys had him on, how we just didn't know if they were going to let us. But, Oscar kept true to his word that he told me all the way back when in Twitch Rivals. And he brought us all on. And
That's
honestly,
awesome.
though, it was mostly because of just Waltz and Burita and Rio keeping me on PHL and keeping me kind of like giving me every single slot that I was available for, that I was able to kind of stay relevant in the finals when I thought I had fallen off because I'd left a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, but being in PHL allowed me to kind of jump in with the Aimers, now Team Secret, and the rest is history. You guys all know the rest from there.
Yeah.
But that's kind of from the very beginning up to here. Of course, skipping some of the less glorious details of it all. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just esports has been the only industry I've ever worked in
That's
ever
crazy.
since
Wow.
graduating. So that's my entire career. That's everything.
That's crazy. I mean, insane story. Obviously, a ton of variety too. I feel like I knew up and like from Marvel Rivals on, and I'd heard about like your what am I talking about? Twitch Rivals. Sorry, I was like thinking Twitch Prime in my head for some reason. Twitch Rivals, not. Sorry. Anyways, I remember hearing about all that, but I hadn't heard about the rest of your history. And one thing I wanted to call out real quick is you have a video called "The History of the Finals Esports" that, in my opinion, is like the best made video when it comes to people want to learn about the finals esports and know how it started and know about like Q sniping back in the day and things like that. Like if you're into the finals esports, that is a must watch. Like great video that you put out. I think you collaborated with Ape Squad if I'm correct on that, right?
Yeah, so Toyo helped me make that whole timeline, and it was incredible. Although there is a correction. In that video, I said that Twitch Rivals have it season 2. It was season 3.
Right.
Um, That's the only correction. And there was a couple community tournaments that we became aware of after we made that video because people were like, "Oh, well, we didn't know that like people were putting together a resource." But that video ended up getting Sonsoyo connected with a lot of other like tournament organizers, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's live on the website right now, but Ape Squad right now does have that full list of every event that's happened. And I mean, hey, since the major has happened, we've had so many more tournaments than ever before.
Yeah.
It's been great. You guys are a big part of that.
Yeah. I mean, 2026 is off to a bang too. I mean, just the amount of things starting up is insane. I mean, not even including like PHL, of course, and stuff, and Breakout coming back, but there are so many leagues that even I didn't know about until like probably 2 weeks ago. Like Crest League, for example, like Vanguard's kind of hosting. Luck leagues going on. Like there's just a new league or new series happening. It feels like every single week. I think Rio has said like we pretty much once PHL starts, which I would say was this week, that we have finals esports going on for like the next 9 months. Like it's
Yeah.
insane. Like every single weekend. And so I mean we're trying to help and boost that where we can. It's a big thing with TFC for 2026. It's just like whatever you need to get your event going, you reach out to us. And we've already had people reach out. We've given them advice or sent them to the person that can get them answers if they need it, or providing B stream support is kind of something we're doing now as well. And it's awesome. I mean, it is just great to see how much that grows. And like you said, I think that video that you put out with Ape Squad is just really, I felt like once that came out, and PHL season 2 also, like those two things alone just really skyrocketed interest. And of course TGM as well. So incredible stuff. I mean, applause to you. Obviously, I mean, you started this thing from the ground up, honestly, and it's insane. So yeah.
I mean, somebody was going to start it at some point, but it was the people that carried the torch after I left that really are the reason that it's all here. I mean, nobody can say anything other than like Waltz is the reason that
Yeah.
things kept going. Waltz kept the lights on after I left, and I just can't thank him enough for that.
Yeah. Now Waltz is the GOAT. I mean, he's pretty much the person that I think we've accounted for in terms of like even us entering the scene and just trying to help where we can help out. He like day one, I think found our community, or just the two of us, helped us spin up our Discord. We had no idea what we were doing with starting a Discord in 2025, and he helped us do that and just got us ingrained with PHL and from there. So Waltz is, I have said it probably a million times on this pod at this point and on stream, but Waltz is the GOAT. That dude, I don't know anybody that loves finals esports more than that guy. And the amount he does behind the scenes is insane too. That can't be talked about or doesn't get talked about. It's incredible. And I mean Burrito as well, and just everybody else with the PHL crew. So yeah. Speaking of which, though, PHL crew. One thing I wanted to mention is Rio is, in case nobody was familiar, Rio is a permanent member here on Around the Arena now. He's an official co-host here in 2026. He reached out to us, was like, hey, like you guys are, putting out a lot of content. I'd love to get involved. And he's been a great addition. He is hanging out with his wife tonight, and I hope they're having a great evening. So he has left the interview to the two of us. But one thing I did was reach out to him and I said, hey, like what questions do you have for Ardy or anything? And he mentioned something about a Boulder Weapon, which I don't know what that is. And he said, I'm not telling you further. You'll have to ask him. So Ardy, what is the Boulder Weapon, I guess?
There is some lore here that needs to be explained, but essentially there is a dream that I've had since the very early days of season 1, season 2, where every single class has a weapon that is somewhat like another weapon, right? So there is a variety of shotguns across every single class. There's 2 melee weapons on every single class. There are autos on every class. There's bursts on every class. What does one class have that another class might not have? Where are the analogs that are missing?
Mhm.
Flamethrower is one where it's like, okay, flamethrower on heavy, there's nothing really like it on medium or on light. On light, throwing knives, there's nothing really like that on medium or on heavy. And so I was thinking like, okay, those two things in mind, right? So what's like a flamethrower equivalent that would work for medium or light, or what's a throwing knife equivalent that would work for medium and heavy? And the first thing that came to my mind was a throwing knife equivalent for the heavy, a boulder. Just imagine like season 12 drops and one of the weapons is just rock. um, I think that it is the best idea that Embark is sleeping on. And so when I finally got the chance, I had been talking about this in my community for literally over a year at this point, where every time I would stream, we talk about, bro, what if we had the boulder, right? What if we imagine a heavy with a boulder? Don't know what it would look like. I just want to see it. When I finally got invited to Embark's headquarters in September for closed quals for the major, I found my audience with the people that are in charge of designing the weapons and the weapon systems,
Yeah.
and more importantly, the dude that is in charge of the balance. And I made sure that he was in a chair across from me where I sat down and said, "Have you thought about a boulder?" And all of them were like, "What? Like, what are we talking about? What are we doing here?" And I was like, "Listen to me. Could you have a pen for this whiteboard? Because I'm about to go crazy." And oh boy, it went crazy. They were on board. They were sat. Rob was 2 glasses of wine in, ready to add this to the game tomorrow.
Yep.
The basis of the weapon is it's like throwing knives, but it's a boulder and it's for heavy. Now, the way that you balance this is that when you're throwing the boulder, there's a long animation that cannot be canceled and you cannot move. So he's just hooking a rock, right? Not a giant bullet. One shot, one kill. Okay, one shot, that's it.
Yeah.
Destroys everything. More destructive than a sledgehammer. They were on board. And now I didn't get the chance to spend that much time at Embark during November with the major itself because they were obviously very busy. But I heard at the after party that a working version was possibly being tested or had been tested. It's probably just for laughs. They probably have absolutely zero intention of ever releasing this.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's hilarious that somewhere out there exists a build of the finals where a heavy just throws a fucking rock, and that is a primary weapon.
Yeah. That's cool. I imagine if you could do it also like basically terraforming the map, like you could pull stone out of a wall or something, make your
That's what I
rock
was thinking. I'm
bigger.
like, where's the boulder coming from?
Yeah. Well, we don't
I-
ask about the
I
throwing
have
knives.
that
They just
out.
phase it to existence.
The
as well.
the throw. Oh, so the throw. Oh, the infinite ammo is also fine. But where we're getting the
But it's a
boulder from?
big-
That's
but
where
it's a
you draw
big
the
rock, though.
It is. It is a big rock. And I do actually have I have an interview with a bunch of developers that I was able to record back in September, like a Q&A, completely uncensored, completely unfiltered. I could post this tomorrow. I had an issue with the audio. I actually had to send it to a data recovery expert to get the audio back, which is
Oh,
why I
wow.
never posted it. But I have all the audio now, and I think that there's a part of there where we talk about the rock, and they talk about some older systems that existed in the finals. And now, of course, now I think I might have to get it cleared by Embark before I post anything. But there is a chance that I post that within the next couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to
Be
see
looking forward to
that.
that. Yeah. No kidding. Moving on though, you mentioned closed qualifiers, which is obviously a big topic to talk about. You know, Rio shared his experience here on the pod a couple weeks ago, and you know, what was it like for you to finally you hit on it for a second, but what was it like to finally get that call and know like, okay, this thing's like for real happening. I'm leaving Hawaii. I'm going out to Stockholm. Like, what was that experience like for you?
Man, it was a dream because we were all very curious. Like once PHL started and it started to pop off, we realized that this is possibly bigger than we all thought, especially when
Hmm.
Embark started donating a lot of money to the prize pool. When we started getting hundreds and hundreds of viewers and orgs started being signed in this, I talked with them and I was like, hey guys, do you realize how big this really is?
Yep.
Like, because I don't think that they realized, right, that
Mm-mm.
it was becoming as official as it was, even up until the start of season 2. But it was like midway through season 1 that I kind of sat Burrito down. I was like, do you know like the scale of this, like what this is going to entail? And it really didn't hit anybody until Embark really officialized it with us. And Oscar and Thixie got in a call with us. They said, hey, we'd love to ask. And mostly they were like, hey, we have no guarantees that we're going to be able to get you on, but we want to know about how this kind of works. And Oscar asked me a lot about like, hey, you do casting for other esports. What is that like? What is the contract like? What is like the pay usually and all this stuff? And I was very transparent. I was also very transparent with the other casters too. I was like, hey, this is how much I usually get paid for stuff. This is how
Yeah.
much you guys should ask for. And all of those conversations, but Embark was transparent with us from the beginning
Yeah.
because they had a contract with ESL Faceit, that actually included casters. And so
Right.
they had already paid for the talent. And Oscar like made a decision one day and he was like, "Hey, we cannot do it without without the community casters. Like everybody knows them from PHL. And the biggest thing was like me and Jerry went to Oscar as well. We were like, listen, the guys that ESL Face has, fantastic casters, fantastic hosts, they do not know the game, right? And as much as like you can get a new caster in the game, you can get a new caster in like Valorant or in Overwatch, and like yeah, you can learn all the abilities, you can learn all the stuff, but it the difference in quality of casting between somebody that knows the name of all the weapons and abilities versus the person who has 2,000 hours in the game, knows all of these pro teams back to front, knows what strengths and weaknesses they have, those are two different levels. And Oscar realized that, and he came to us and he said, "Hey, we're gonna make this work. We don't have that much money, but we're gonna do our best to meet with you guys in a reasonable place and get you guys there."
Yeah.
I
Totally.
think
And
you
yeah,
not to interrupt, but I think you just summed it up perfectly. And I've told Rio and Waltz, and I've told everyone on the PHL staff this before, that I have never been interested in like listening to casters all that much in other games. But something about you guys, I feel like the level of understanding, the passion, and just the knowledge that is ever expansive. I feel like anyone is interested in listening to you guys cast because that is there. So that is so like I'm so happy to hear that Oscar did take that step and you're like, you know what, you're right. Because it is, you can tell, you really can. And that is the difference between an interesting cast and a perfect cast. Like, just right there. The knowledge. And I mean, you guys show it every time.
Yeah.
I mean, more than the knowledge though, it is the passion. I mean,
Yeah.
remember, like Waltz, Rio, Jerry, and I, we are nerds about this game.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
love this game more than anything else. The only game that we play, even when we have free time, and we're just fans,
Yeah.
right? And so the fact that we're fans of the game and we just put it on our back to just be the ones to cast for everybody else, I do think that is the reason that it's different, because like there are people that make career out of casting that sure they love the games that they're casting, they love their craft of commentating, but Counter-Strike is just another game. It's a game they have 2,000 hours in, 2,000, 3,000 hours in, but it's just another game, right? Marvel Rivals, it's a really fun game. The people that cast Marvel Rivals love the game, but it's one title of many.
Yeah.
Whereas for if you look at Waltz and Rio, the finals is their game, right? Jerry and I both have a shared background of a bunch of other games, but the finals is the only game that we play day in and day out every single day. Even if I don't have any like reason to play it for esports stuff, we're playing this game because we love the fuck out of it. And so I think that more than anything shines through, and it's less about the knowledge and just more that we just love the game.
Yeah. I also think like it shows a lot and it helps a lot on the viewer perspective, right? Because I would argue the finals is probably the most complicated FPS, competitive FPS on the market. Like, especially if you're talking about cash out, like threes, maybe there's an argument there, but like cash out, especially, there's so much. I mean, like, I would say until probably halfway through PHL season 1, if not even season 2, is when we finally started learning about how big macro played into the picture, because it used to be just aim off. It was just who had better mechanics and gun skill. And then I remember Cody and I, like, just watching on our watch parties and stuff, we're like, oh my god, gadget usage is finally being calculated. People aren't just spamming their glitches. People aren't just hitting winch on the first guy they see. They're like actually rotating around and waiting for, like winch stall or goose stall, or like, it like evolved so quick. It still is, obviously. Like, we had a double heavy meta, we still arguably do. Like, this game is so complicated and it changes week over week, not including like the fragile balancing where it's like if you bump a gun up like 1 damage point, all of a sudden apparently it's meta. Like, it is an insane game. And having talent like you guys, having people like Burrito, who's so good observing and capturing it, also like goes so far, because like close quals, I feel like a lot of people had the same opinion that observing was kind of missed some key moments, and it made it harder to like tell the story of like why that was a big play, why you should be in your seat freaking out, why is Ardy literally screaming until he's hoarse over there, like like that stuff matters. And so yeah, then bringing in talent like you guys, who I mean basically have a PhD in this game, I think just makes it that much better, and also breaks the stigma that I feel like exists a lot in other games where it's like, oh, the casters don't really play the game or don't know the game very much. It's easy to read the screen. I have never had that. I'm with Cody, where it's like listening to the casters. This is the first game where it's not like I want to throw up a player POV or watch a watch party the whole time. I'm locked into the casters, which I'm rambling here for a second. Cody's got his hand up. I know he wants to jump in here in just a moment, but I was going to say as well, we've been offered on our watch parties to get clean feeds, and I said absolutely not. I want the casters. You give me the fellas. I'm not doing a clean
We've
feed.
never wanted clean feeds. Nope, we're
Nope.
good.
That's so sweet. That's so kind of you guys. I love that. I mean, I will say that was actually one of the reasons that Thixie as well was very much pushing for us. Was because of the fact that the knowledge and depth that's required for understanding the macro and understanding the game that's going on. Thixie straight up told Oscar in that call with us, if they brought on like the ESL casters, not a single person would know what's going on in the major.
100%.
Because in a game of Cashout, it is impossible. And Thixie was like, I don't know how you can track everything. And it's like for all of us, it is a mixture of ADHD and ADHD medication that allows us to track 4 teams at once. But no, I mean, it's the observing as well. Burrito is the reason that we can really just see and tell what's going on at any time. But yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I mean, another thing I want to say too is like kind of to really, I feel like express the depth, which I've also said 1,000 times, but I feel like if you watch the finals at different ranks, and even kind of like Sam mentioned, just as the PHL has progressed, like each season almost feels like a completely different game. And we are barely scratching the surface. I feel like there's so much more intricacies that are going to slowly develop. And one thing I want to say, kind of just to touch on like coaches, which we have told Young, I think even when he was coaching, is that I feel like the minute that coaches got into the midst of the competitive scene, you immediately saw that immediate just increase of the mind games and the overall like Sam said macro and all this just management of all the gadgets they have. And so I just want to kind of get your analysis on coaching, right? So how do you feel like you got that next level for these teams? How do we push them to that point?
For Team Secret, a lot of what it was getting everything that they wanted to do and putting an actual rule to it of like everybody knows, all these pro players, they know intrinsically what to do at a given game state. Where, okay, this team is up here, so I need to push, underneath, or my light needs to split, or we need to have heavy and medium core be somewhere else. They all knew what they had to do, but there was no terminology for it, and every team had their own comms and their own structure. And oftentimes their comms would reflect the game state, but not what they needed to do. My goal with Team Secret was, you guys already know how to play the game. You guys already know everything that you need to do. I am going to sit here and define it for you, where all of the things that you do, this is why you're doing them. Are you able to recognize that? And are we able to put rules to it where when we see this happen, what's the response? When the game state reads this way, what's the response? And that was when I think everything really did start to get a little bit more nuanced, and the mechanical differences between some of these teams started to be erased entirely by straight up pure strategic calls. So my goal as a coach was to start defining things, and then from there figure out, okay, if we are now able to read ourselves better, are we able to read the other teams better and predict the other team's movements and where they're going to go? And so it started from going from reading the game state to predicting the game state. And then from predicting the game state to manipulating the game state, where if we double the cash out, is that going to have the effect that we want? If we throw the vault into an area where we can predict that, maybe team B or team C is gonna then double it, is that going to give us the desired effect? And then just really breaking that down into every single aspect that we possibly can. But I think that the way that I would break down coaching was where it started, and then from there it became theory crafting, where okay, we've now figured out everything that we're doing within this current meta. How do we get an advantage? And that was where Vanishing Bomb came out, and that was where I think the very first turn for the meta, at least around PHL Season 2, came around.
Yeah,
that's super interesting to hear, and I'd love to hear that you're also a quick shout out. You're doing coaching. I know the slots are a very hot commodity, but I mean, I think it's so cool that you're coaching, and I might have to hit you up sometime because me and Sam can't figure out what's wrong. But on a side note, though, going into that and kind of talking about how the game is, kind of further developed as we've gotten through, there has been kind of a sentiment that I feel like a lot of people have expressed, and we have personally, that we feel like Cashout is incredibly underdeveloped. 3v3 is kind of a little bit further ahead. And my question to you is, what do you think is the biggest factor of that? What do you think the teams are missing in Cashout? Is there something that you can maybe give some insight on?
So I don't think that there's anything that teams are missing. It's the common misconception is that cash out is not solved, but it can be solved.
Mhm.
The reason that cash out is so good and is so amazing to watch as an esport is because it is an unsolvable problem, because at its core it is a three body problem, where if you guys for those of you watching that don't know what that means, a three body problem is a reference to a binary star system where there are two stars that orbit each other, and then there's a planet that orbits that star. When you have a planet that is orbiting a sun, then you can tell everything about it because you can calculate what the gravitational pull is. You can calculate what the effect of each gravitational field on one another is. But when you have a binary star system and two stars and then a planet, there are so many variables because they're all pulling each other and they're all actively affecting each other. Where the first star is pulling the second star and pulling the planet, second star is pulling both of them as well, the planet is pulling both of them as well. And because they're all rapidly changing, rapidly evolving, it is not solvable. It is something where there is an effect of entropy. And with cash out, you have four teams, you have two objectives. The two objectives, which technically four objectives, the vaults and the cash outs, but you have the two objectives, which then have four orbiting bodies. It is, at its core, unsolvable because there are so many different variables. The time that it takes to end a fight is not something that you can control, because if a team decides to not reset, they decide to use their coins. If a team that is losing has defender coins, they have that defender advantage, and the other team does or doesn't take advantage of that, or they let the team take advantage of the defender coins. Those are all things that the team that's on the other side fighting cash out B, they cannot know what's happening on cash out A perfectly. There's no way to know. And because of that, the ever evolving game state is keeping it fresh round to round. There will never be two rounds of the finals that are the same because of these variables. And you can control spawns, you can control your gadgets, you can control what resources your team is or isn't using, you can control what time you are going to be attacking a cash out to make a certain objective have one or two team fights. But there are still more variables that you can't control because you're not the other three teams in the lobby. And you can never guarantee that you're not going to get third partied. And no matter how much you're planning, that could all just be circumvented by a third party or even a fourth party. And so I don't think that there is a world where cash out gets solved. I think that there's a world where teams get more and more hard rules and have the ability to read things easier and easier.
Yeah.
And there will be a time when the limit does get tested of there's a team fight that is going to be completely unwinnable on every single box, and there will be teams that know how to take advantage of that. But even with that in mind, a third party is always going to change something. And so that's my take on cash out, is that at its the nature of cash out is that it is unsolvable.
All I gotta say is we just explained the three body problem talking about the finals. So I'm gonna go back to my point of saying these guys have a PhD in the game. There you go. You see what I'm saying? I don't think an ESL caster is gonna explain that. But yeah, it is crazy. I mean, cash out is, you bring up great points. Something I guess I've just not really thought of. I think I've been in the boat of trying to solve cash out for some reason. And you're right. It's like an asynchronous game, right? It's completely different. If you've ever played like asynchronous board games, they're the same way. Like all of a sudden, everybody's working on little objectives that you actually don't know about until all of a sudden they're in your mix, and you're like, "Why are you here?" And then they flip over their card and they're like, "This is why," you know. And that's actually a great explanation. I've for some reason never thought of it that way, but there you go. That's why you're the
I
coach.
am sorry to say that in season 3 of PHL, you guys are going to be seeing a lot more third-party vault fights, which are going to make it even crazier because you're going to have one team start an objective and they're going to be totally fine, and then everyone else is going to get staggered, and it's going to make it even crazier. So, yeah, I mean, it's unsolvable. It never will be solved, and that's the glory of it.
That's crazy. Do you think the like doubling change is affecting that? Because I mean, I feel like I have noticed since season 9 started that with Double Jeopardy entering the game, vaults do and cash outs wind up do a lot more staggered than normal. And I guess maybe that's a byproduct of that. I never really thought about that or put two and two together, but that is a realization I'm having now.
So doubling and the current solution to doubling that's in the game solves one very particular aspect of the chaos, and that is when the team in first place just rolls over and says, "Okay, we're just going to end the game and we're going to target the team that's in second place because they're really good and we want one of the other teams to come in."
Right.
So that the current thing that doubling does with Double Jeopardy is it prevents the team in first place from plugging. Now, even if it doesn't prevent them from bringing it over and letting it be plugged by another team, it does stop a lot of the problems that doubling had in the past, which was just that first team that was in first place, they control the flow of the match. Now, what the current solution to doubling doesn't solve is all of the other things that doubling brings to the table. And unfortunately, there is no one good solution to that. I've heard a lot of really good solutions be brought up. The one that I support the most, I think, is being able to unplug a cash out. And
Yeah.
I really like that. What's funny is nobody remembers this, but back in the beta, the way that cash out worked was not, it wasn't about plugging the $8,000 or the $10,000 cash out and getting $10,000. It was when it came towards the end of the match, there was no overtime. When you plugged the cash out, you got a percentage of the money based on how much time was left. So if it's 10,000 and it's a 2-minute cash out and there was only 1 minute left, you would only get $5,000 out of that cash out. In my personal opinion, I believe that that is how it should work. I think that the cash out timer should go to 10 minutes instead of 9 minutes. And so we just automatically have that 1 minute overtime. But I think that that's how the last box should work. Is that if the last box is also going to be, you get the plug money from the beginning, so you get that 4K guaranteed from 22K, but I think that it should be a percentage. I don't think that that would fix doubling, but it would fix some last minute things where, for example, a team SSGs it, where they're the team that's in last place plugs and doubles because it doesn't matter if they lose because they're not qualifying anyway, but then it fucks it up for the rest of everybody else.
Right.
If a team SSGs a cash box, SSGs a double, but we have the percentage cash out, I think that that would actively change things. I don't know how. I think it needs to be tested.
Yeah.
But that's my take.
I'm a believer. We should try everything. Okay,
Yeah.
we got a little bit of time before the next major. Let's just try everything. Let's figure out what happens. Speaking of the major, I do love hearing your thoughts on the game and everything, and I want to get into that maybe another time. But I want to hear about how you were feeling, specifically, you know, when you were meeting these people, your co-casters, Waltz, Burrito, getting to see all the people that you've met in the community finally in person. What was that like?
It was a dream. I mean, closed quals, meeting Rio and Jerry for the first time, it was emotional. All right. I mean, Jerry and I, we'd casted Breakout. Rio and I had casted Breakout. All of us. We did Breakout for about a year, and you know, then we had all this time in PHL. We became really, really close, and we were sad that Waltz couldn't be there. But we were, you know, there were tears. We were very emotional, and seeing Oscar as well in person was just such an emotional roller coaster. And I mean, Rio talked about it as well when he was there. We've never had an experience before where we were like invited to this game studio and people were crying, right? Like people were treating us like celebrities. Everyone was crying because it was like so emotional. Like they brought us here, they changed our lives, everything. It was amazing. And then during the major, of course, not only being able to see Waltz and Sensoyo as well, but seeing everybody, meeting you guys, meeting all of the community, people that I had played thousands of hours with and finally got to meet in person. It was really emotional. And I have been flown out for esports events before. I have done esports my whole life. Nothing has been like this because this game is in such a place where it's not in danger of dying, but it's a small community and everybody knows everybody, and that changes it. Where you literally, like, I know every single streamer in this game.
Yeah.
I've never thought that that would be a possibility. Where every single streamer knows me, I know them, and then when we meet, it's like, holy shit, like, you're real. A lot of hugging, a lot of kissing. But it was amazing to meet everybody in Sweden, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead, Cody. You had your hand up.
You're good. I was gonna ask, and because you have had such an experience, detail like history with esports. Did you have any nerves going into casting this event? I mean, it kind of it reached 25K at some point. I mean, I'm sure you might have had some experience where there might have been that many people watching, but that's still not an average Tuesday or average any day when you are casting to that many people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the most views at one time for a cast that I've had. Fragpunk definitely got up there. Marvel Rivals got up there, but with this, like, it wasn't. I had been nervous before casting in front of like even like 2,000 people. Was like, oh wow, like maybe I got nervous back then, but now I've been doing it so long, and specifically for the finals, this game is my baby. I can cast the finals, I think, on most days. Sometimes I have bad days, but I feel more confident casting the finals than I do driving in traffic. So I definitely wasn't nervous just because of the amount of people. I was mostly nervous because I was like, this is the day that I've been waiting all year for.
Yeah.
Don't fuck up. Like, doesn't matter how many people there were, even if there was only 1,000 people, it's just like, this is the day.
Yeah.
Don't fuck
This is the
up.
thing. This is the thing. Yeah.
But honestly, being able to be next to my casters in person and doing it with them, where like Jerry and I during close calls, we were literally grabbing each other's like waists, like during the finals. It was so beautiful, and having those moments as well in person dropped all the nerves. Like when Jerry and I are able to just like punch each other, hit each other, and like talk, and it was just so good. And I mean, I know you guys didn't ask, but my favorite memory from that was the very ending of the closed quals, when SSG had their just generational run from the very bottom all the way up the lower bracket. Everybody was emotional. Everybody was waiting for it. And Rio and Jerry said that I was able to have the last call. I could do the final moments. And Jerry wrote on a card and put it in front of my face. He said, it just said liftoff _ SSGW, and I knew what that meant. And so like he gave me the like banger line that I could hit. And
That's
then
awesome.
when SSG won, I said liftoff. That was Jerry who was ghostwriting for me. So like that was just having people in person changed everything for me.
Yeah. That's so cool. One thing I wanted to ask you real quick, I don't want to sidetrack from TGM too much here because I know there's even more to talk about, but I just remembered you kind of have a music background, right? Music performance background. I think you were in marching band, if that's correct. And
Yeah.
Cody and I are, kind of getting our feet wet with casting. We did PHL stream for season 2. We're doing some events now. We're doing PHL stream for season 3, as well as streaming for other stuff. I have found, because I came from a music background, I have a music degree, mostly jazz guitar. I do. But one thing I'm curious if you share this opinion with all your experience, right? Do you feel that your music background has helped you? Because for me, I found that my jazz background, especially thinking on the fly, silently cueing to people, because I play guitar, I was in the rhythm section, so couldn't talk, but I was constantly playing. Do you feel that like has helped you with casting in terms of like tempo, dynamics, like all that kind of stuff?
I think so. I mean, so I was in marching band for close to 6 years, and I played everything. I was the guy that just I played all the weird instruments. So I started on alto saxophone and then went to tenor, then baritone saxophone, and then they put me on trumpet, and they put me on baritone, and then they put me on French horn, and then they put me on sousaphone, and then they're like, "Hey, you can play everything, right? Here's an oboe, here's a bass flute, here's a baritone clarinet," and I got used to all these things, and all of those different instruments had different roles, where I had to listen to different things. I got very used to listening to everything, but then tuning it out at certain times.
Right.
So I think that definitely helps with like understanding how to focus on a bunch of different things at once.
Yeah.
But my background in jazz band was, I think, what gave me the most stuff with casting, because I played the upright bass and the electric bass for 4 years.
Exactly.
To this day, upright bass is my favorite instrument. And the moment that I own a house, my next purchase is an upright bass because I miss it.
That's
And I really want to get back to that. And I think with Jerry, we both have such a fluid understanding of each other that for us it is like music. It is a call and response for Jerry and I. And so like I have this rhythm with Jerry that I don't have with anyone else. I hope that I'll get that rhythm with Lemon Kiwi. We already have such a really good chemistry between us, but
Yeah.
um, it is definitely something I never thought about. But yeah, I think that being able all those skills that I learned from band definitely it transferred over.
Very cool. Yeah, that's just been on my mind since I got into this, and yeah, that's really cool. So go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, you have said it so many times, which is fine. No, I think you're right. But so my other question is, Sam and I have been trying to get into casting. If there's someone that is trying to get into casting, what do you feel like is your number one thing that you could tell them? What is their number one thing?
The only way that you're gonna get better at it is by doing it and doing it poorly. You are going to do it poorly for the first time because you're gonna stumble over your words and you're not gonna know what you want to say. But
All about that.
just keep
Hmm.
doing it. Watch over a pro scrim game and just commentate on it. And it doesn't matter if there's nobody listening. You don't have to record it for yourself because you're gonna be in the moment with yourself, knowing when you screw up and when you don't. But think about what is happening in the game and whether or not you're being a play-by-play or a color. It's both. It's important to understand how the game is evolving over time, and you want to do more than just read the screen, right? Yes, OG is diving onto the point with the SA-1216. He has the dome and they got early damage to the RPG. But is this fight important?
Yeah.
Because if OG clutches it up, what are the stakes? If he doesn't clutch it up, what are the stakes? Am I going to get more hype because he makes this or because he doesn't? While this is happening, do I remember that Elix he just overcharged his heal being he doesn't have heals for this fight? Or do I remember that Roma's H plus infuser is just coming off of cooldown and he could come in at this fight? Am I anticipating that to help in, or am I anticipating Roma to get an angle? Am I anticipating Elix to get an angle? For if I'm watching Lamp and Grad go in, I know their chemistry, right? Is their chemistry of how they're able to swing off each other going to come into play here? Because is this an angle that Grad would have otherwise if Lamp wasn't going to be there? Right?
Right.
So all of these things are only things you can get with game knowledge, but you have to keep that in mind that while you're talking about the fact that Grad's doing damage, like the people watching know he's doing damage. Why is he doing damage, right? And so you have to start with just reading your screen and read your screen faster and faster and faster until you can read your screen and know what the important thing is to pull out and know what the important thing is to call out before anybody else, but know why you're calling it out and
Right.
know what the stakes are because the overarching cast needs to have tempo and pace, and you need to understand when you get to hype the audience up because you are the one that drives the audience's hype. Nobody would have thought the major was as cool as it was if Jerry, Rio, and I weren't sitting there in between every single break going, when is the hype important? Where is this fight going to matter? And Rio and Jerry going, oh, well, I think it's going to be important like here. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Fight one. If they lose this vault fight, everything's fucked because the way this team works. Sorry, I don't know if you cursed on the stream.
Nah, you're good. You're good.
And so knowing how to pace the hype and stuff comes next, but you have to just get used to reading your screen so that you can make those calls later on.
Yeah.
That's so good. I just wrote that down. That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was good. I pulled up the notepad. I'm like, I'm taking notes. He's talking.
Hell yeah.
Oh my
This
God.
guy's spitting.
I was like, write that down. No, genuinely, that really puts it into perspective. I think that's something I try to do, but I've never like mentally noticed it. And now that you've said that, I'm like, it clicks. I'm like, it all makes sense now. So I think that's incredible. I think that you're going to give people a lot of tools that they need with that. So,
Yep.
I'm sorry, I need a moment. You take that, Sam. I just took a lot of notes.
Well, yeah, we're at 59 minutes. We got a little bit more though. We can go over. I mean, who's gonna stop us? Am I right?
Who's counting?
Quick thing for you, just a shout out and congratulations, of course, is at TGM 25, you got some very exciting news, and that's that you became Embark Partner, which is awesome. Congratulations on that. Are you able to give us like any backstory on how that became? Because I know you came up to Cody and I and just were like, I'm an Embark Partner now. We're like, great, congrats. But like, what was the backstory? Like, how did you find out? Basically what happened, I guess.
I mean, you guys saw all the videos I was posting last year, right? I was trying my best to post a video every single week at one
Mhm.
point. Between that and casting PHL and coaching Team Secret, I was getting as involved as I could. So when Embark came out with their creator program last year, I applied at the very beginning, very first day, and I didn't get it. And I wasn't salty about it because I understand that they only have a certain number of slots, and there were certain people that had stuck around before I necessarily came back in full force. But I had been kind of antsy of like, if I'm going full into this game, I really want to be in it. And I mean, the only thing that I could say about it is that there are people at Embark that watch every creator
Mhm.
and genuinely care. And the people that work on this game watch all of these creators in their spare time. Like they go home and they watch the final streamers and they watch the finals YouTube videos and video essays. And it's kind of through them that I was able to get partner because I want to give a very special shout out to Christian who is on the I think officially he's on the community team. He is on like the store team as well, but he does so much. He wears as many hats around the office as he can. And Christian was just always such a big supporter of what I did, watching everything from the very beginning and just being such a positive beacon of support for me. And when I got to the major, that was his gift to me. Was he was the
Oh,
one
that's
that
awesome.
personally sat down with Caroline and Matthew, who are in charge of the Embark Creator Program, and he said, "Hey, like Ardy is hosting this. He's like, you for whatever reason, he just said to them that they should just give it to me and that I deserve it." And I could not be more thankful because I like Embark Partner is usually reserved for people who are like Twitch partners and pull way bigger numbers than I do and
Right.
do way more stuff. But it was like an honorary badge of like, this is like a gift to support me for, being as committed as I was. And I sat down and I cried. Like I didn't know that Christian gave it to me. I went up to Christian. I was like,
Yeah.
bro, I got Embark Partner. Like, thank you so much. And he was like, yeah, I know you did. I greenlit it. I was there. Like
That's
I signed the
awesome.
paperwork. And I just broke down into tears. I just hugged him. He is the most positive shining beacon in Embark. And I just every single person at that company I love to death because they just want all of us to succeed. And for them to personally reach out and give me the tools that I needed to succeed in doing what I can with the finals, it was a very humbling moment for me because I had never been that, I guess, personally vouched for
Yeah.
by the people behind the game. Um, and yeah, it was just a really special thing to that was able to happen for just a personal reason, right? It wasn't that I had hit a certain metric or done anything. It was just from Embark to me, like this is like
Yeah.
we recognize you. It was humbling.
Very cool.
Yeah, I don't even know if I can say anything after that because that's really wholesome. It's so great to hear, and I do think you deserve it. You're one of my favorite creators in the scene. So I think we're gonna start to wrap it up. So we have two more questions for you, and one we always ask everyone, which you kind of already have said it, but I'm gonna word it a little bit differently. We always ask someone when they come on the pod, which is, what is one change over addition? Which you've already said the Boulder. So I'm gonna say, what is your change? What would you like to change? If there's one thing you could change, anything in the world.
One thing I could change about the finals. Um, wow. I mean, it obviously I could go off about balance. I could go off about
Do a fun one. Do a fun
what
one.
stuff. I
Do a
think
fun one.
that the finals needs to have an experimental playlist. I brought this up to Rob directly. I brought this up to actually I think Sam was at the table with me while I was
Yep.
talking to Rob and
I've said this so many times. I'm
Mikhail
like,
and
we need
like
an arcade playlist, please.
yes, we
Yeah.
we need a playlist where they could just make balance changes.
Just
Like,
do something crazy.
hey,
Yeah.
hey, Wednesday on this playlist, lights are gonna have 100 HP, and everybody that plays light is gonna have a virus on their computer because you deserve it.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
And I think that that's fine. I think that's a fine thing to do.
No, you
I think
should.
where
Yeah.
they say, hey, like, what if we just adjusted the breakpoints? Like, hey, today, can you, like, everybody playing this, we're gonna disable everything except the CPO1, and we're gonna have this, like, all these teams have different values on the CPO1, right? It's gonna be random what CPO1 you spawn with. Like, stuff like that would be insane. Where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, we're testing this new weapon, and if you queue into this, you have to pre-queue for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna have one server. So if you don't get in, you don't get in. But we're testing this new weapon, and we need data on it. And if they did an experimental playlist where they could just do shit every single week or every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
I think that they would learn so much more about their own game, and they would get so much data. And
Yeah.
when I tell you, every single person at Embark that I brought this up to said it was a good idea, and it sounds like a good idea. Um, we might see it at some point, but I am pushing for that still to this day.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it makes sense. Like, just data is everything, and if they are just one day have this weird idea, it's so much easier to do when you don't have to push it out to the main branch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just throw it out there.
It's the perfect solution too, because I think we talked about this. I want to say we talked about it with Rio like last week or something, right? And the problem is like World Tour was maybe supposed to be that, but World Tour has now just become basic cash out if you don't want to play ranked, which is fair. Like people should have that, right? You should have a quick play version of cash out, which they don't. It's World Tour, or well, I guess it's called cash out now. You know what I mean, though. That solution, having an experimental playlist, one that updates every week or 2 weeks or whatever, and just is like, I mean, this might totally break the game and be the worst thing we could have ever implemented, but now we know, you know. And
Exactly.
don't want to play it, don't play it. You're not forced
They need
into
to
it.
not be afraid to make decisions, and the
Yeah.
only way that they can do that to get over that fear is by doing an experimental playlist.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean I think that is the number one addition to the game that it needs. I think you're absolutely on point with that. Cody, I wanted to ask you real quick because we had ours, right? Well, we still do, I guess, but we made that at the start of TFC. Have you changed yours at all? Or do we still want the defib rework?
I think that's such a cool idea. I want it.
So
I don't. Yeah, if you're not familiar, just real quick. So our idea, very, very back when we first started this, is we wanted defib to be when that ghost shows up, that has a health bar, and you can shoot that and break it, and that stops the defib.
I love that.
That's a great idea.
Okay. Counterpoint to that though, that makes goo even more mandatory than it already is.
yeah. It was we did make this right at the beginning of season 6. So the game has evolved.
What if you could winch someone's defib ghost? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the whole point
you can
was
winch your homie in. You'd be like, come over here. It's okay. It's chill.
Right. So the reason why I
I
brought
think
it
you should winch teammates. I think you should be able to winch teammates.
that would be
I
sick.
think,
I think you should be able to nullify teammates at least to get them out, bail them out, have Light just go full support with H+.
No,
like,
don't go. We need this team to
my
steal,
heavy's
please.
feeding. I'm gonna nullify my own teammate. So yeah, obviously that's gonna create so many problems and toxic play. Like it's cooked if you did that. But I always thought that would be a cool rework for nullifier. But yeah, I mean that was an idea we had literally when we started the channel. Like first pod episode, I think we brought it up. And a lot has changed. Like that's why I was thinking about it. Right? Is they nerfed defib. You now like you still can hit and run, but that was the whole point. Was it prevented hit and run? You needed to protect your teammate. Yeah, you know. And I don't think people were really running goo as much then as well on medium. So you are right that it would force them onto it now. So I gotta come up with something else. I think it's time. I think defib's gotten nerfed a little bit enough to where it's in a good spot. So I gotta cook up.
Oh wait,
I
have my one real quick that I said before. Gravity vortex. I want to be, or is it no? Sorry, gravity cube. I want to be able to go on any surface at any angle, and it projects it at the angle. So you could like push the cash box down or across a ledge,
like a sky bridge. Yeah,
I think it'd be so cool. It'd be so cool to have a sky bridge that's heavy.
Yeah,
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Light has gravity vortex, Heavy has gravity cube, what gravity based gadget would you give mediums?
Probably. Well, the problem is they have pad, which like
just give them like a boost like gravity push. I don't know.
Just something that like shoves people off because there's actually nothing that
right. Give them the Sue Storm like push pull.
Yeah,
that's actually
what I was
not a bad
say,
idea.
Yeah,
you pull up the iPad, then you right click, and they get sucked to you. You left click. And that would be the most troll thing ever because you just push people off the edge and no zombie sit
off the cash box.
True. Yeah, you could like have a giant magnet basically, and it like pulls things onto it, and then you get discarded or whatever. That could be kind of cool.
All right. Well, I think Embark should hire all of us because we have great ideas.
Cody is the ideas guy. It's an
I am the
ongoing bit.
ideas guy.
He's
Notice
the
that,
ideas
notice
guy.
that it doesn't include good at the
it's
front
not
of
the
it.
good
It's just the
guy.
ideas guy.
I'm just the ideas guy.
Yeah.
Because you can't hit 100%.
Yeah.
It's not
No.
possible. Well, I just want to wrap things up. Ardy, it has been so great to have you on. I think we're going to have to get you on another time because there's just too much to talk about.
We have way more to talk about.
Speaking of another time, we're moving to the future. So what is the future of Ardy look like? What's next for Ardy in 2026? What can we expect?
I wish I could tell you the full scope of what I have planned, but even I don't know because there are a lot of things I want to do. There's a lot of things that I don't know if I'm going to be able to do. What I can tell you right now is that I am still with Team Secret for the time being, but I likely will not end out the year with Team Secret. I'm in talks with a couple of different rosters, possibly in different regions. I intend to cast as much as I can, so obviously PHL, but I will say that there is I think there's 3 sets of tournaments that have regional fame index points that are announced right now. Actually, I think only 2 are announced. But I'm a part of all of them, which I'm very thankful to be. And I'm going to be doing my best to cast as much finals as I can. And coaching, I mean, is the other main thing. I mean, right now I've opened up my Ardy's Coaching Corner Discord server. I thought it would be like a little like cool thing where some of the people in my community would just want to get coached a little bit. But every slot for the next like week and a half are already full, and I did not expect that every single day I would sit down and have 8 hours of VODs to review and people to coach, and I am so thankful that it has been doing as well as it has. I'm committed to full-time streaming. I really want to get Twitch partner, and hopefully I'll be able to get Twitch partner soon. But that is basically it. I'm going to be casting more finals. I'm going to be coaching more finals. I'm going to be streaming more finals. It's the finals all the way down, baby. That's 2026. That's the future.
We love to see it. We love to see it. Well, like Cody said, thank you again. Obviously, we're going to have you guys back on. And I've got this idea in the back of my head. I want to do a big PHL pod at some point, maybe after season 3 is done and people have had
we had this idea to do one live in Sweden, but there was way too busy.
Yeah, that was way too much going on to make that one happen. Maybe this major, but I would love to do a pod with pretty much everybody at PHL just in one giant call, like just like this, just talking about their experience with the season, what they learned, all that good stuff. So maybe
we can still do it in person after PHL season 3. I hear Sam is pretty loaded. You just fly us all out to Cabo. We do like a little thing.
Sure.
I mean,
I don't know, man. I just bought a house. I'm kind of broke at this point, but we'll see.
Dude, he said, "Hey, I'm leaking it now." Sam said he's going to become the new Beyond the Summit for the finals. So everyone's staying.
God, I wish that would be sick.
Everyone's staying at Sam's house.
Everybody's gonna be sleeping shoulder to shoulder on the floor, but I mean, maybe who knows? That would be cool though.
Hey, as long as I'm shoulder to shoulder with Young, I'm happy.
You heard it here first. We can see what we can make happen there. He's a good friend, So. Yeah, but
of the channel.
Thank you guys again for tuning in to this episode of Around the Arena. If you tuned in midway through, if you're watching it live right now, do not worry. This episode's going to be live on YouTube and Spotify. We are over on Spotify for your audio only needs. So whether you're in the car, in the kitchen, in the shower, in the gym, or cranking up in the ranked lobbies, you can listen to our sultry voices, talk all about the finals, and yap along the way. But that's it. Everybody go drop Ardy a follow. He is John Finals after all, so I don't know what you're doing if you're not already following him. And we'll see you guys next week around the arena. Later.